I'm going to stand because then if I sit,
Cheers to the Hams crew.
Cheers.
Land of Sky Blue Waters.
It's going to be a great show. We're already rocking and rolling. Eddie Christian, the professor of hockey, the GOAT, the great one, Dean Wilson, the physician, the doctor, the orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Phil Johnson, and I'm just the wise one, Jeff Bradall. Good morning, hockey fans around the country.
And a little long-winded.
To another edition of the Hockey Guys.
Hey, speaking of Sky Blue Waters, I saw something that I've never seen before this morning. I watched the ice go out at the lake. That is really pretty cool.
Elaborate a little bit. What's it look like? What does it do? Crackle or what does it do?
It gets really dark, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Goes to the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, it just sinks down.
I had a couple girlfriends like that in college that just
Hey, listen, my mom.
You've
been doing so good for so long.
And do not shut it off yet, Ann. Do not shut it off.
But nobody believes Jeff's had a girlfriend at college, so maybe we have to give him a little bit of a...
Sorry, Dr. Phil's mom and Dean's wife. I do apologize every once in a while. But listen, Scott Sandlin, head coach, Minnesota Duluth, had his postseason press conference. You know, it's unusual for the Duluth to miss its second straight season and failing to reach the NCAA tournament. They finished under 500, and they won 2 of their last 10 regular season games. Let's hear from Coach Scott Sandlin. He was not too happy.
Kind of fun to see that Sandy hasn't changed since I first met him. What do you think? I think I could be okay. I could be pretty good. Might move my feet, might not. But we'll just take it a day at a time. But kind of interesting when you take a look. He made the comment. He's wondering what's going on. The big one for me this week was Pole Camp to Denver. Do you think for a second there's any connection to coaching the World Junior team? Because that's the only reason that one happened. So, Doc, you're in the middle of that one. So now the guy that didn't use the portal, Mr. Dave Carl, who I've been bragging up, doesn't get my bragging anymore because now he's going to the portal to beef up a defenseman that he coached at the World Junior. And I think Scotty may have been alluding to the World Junior coaches are the cause of the problem.
Maybe, maybe not. We may never know unless you get him into a corner and ask him. I didn't understand this until the other day, but NILs, if you come from Canada, you can't get one.
But there's still money available.
No.
Through the other arm of the university.
You have to do it. There's a legal way to do it, and you can do it back home, so you can do it back in Canada. But those kids don't have the opportunity. So he's right. I mean, the stuff that's going on behind the scenes is probably ridiculous, and we only know a little bit of it. And
NIL is only one part of it. The university fundraising group also gets involved because they can drop whatever they need to outside of NIL. NIL is an individual licensing, right? So Caitlin Clark's now doing commercials during the basketball tournament. She's doing paid commercials.
And you know what? Good for her.
She's the goat.
Good for her.
She is the goat.
Good
She
for
is the
her.
goat.
Yeah.
Good for her.
She's grabbing the opportunity and making the most of it. I have no problem with that.
But on the backside, if she said, I could have went in the end in the women's draft, the club may have said, we'll drop $1 million on you just to stick around this year to be able to give this team the highlight goal they need.
And
you
they
know
may
what?
have tried to do that too.
Hey.
You don't know.
You know what? Good for them.
Yeah,
I think-
absolutely.
I watched Clark play last night. She is a generational type player.
But the whole thing is the NIL is kind of out of control.
But
I
I
mean,
but I
and
think
there
to
aren't
get
any
it fixed-
guardrails up.
I think to get it fixed, I think those of us that proceeded at every one of those schools where somebody signs, instead of going to a player agent, it should come back to the players that were there to develop the program.
Oh, here we go. Repatriation.
Oh, that's the term of the world today, isn't it?
I'm going to jump in here because
Us native Sioux guys, we want a little repatriation here. Come on, give me some love, Wills.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I'm going to add to it, okay? First of all, my little world in high school, we got rid of kids hopping around, and Minnesota was terrible with it. High school,
Yeah.
okay? And we got rid of it, and I'll tell you why. Dean Wilson, it kind of goes back to where you were at, Phil, is, for me, I'd coach these elite camps in the summer. And all of a sudden, and I think it was is it the honeymoon? Is Dean Wilson going to be the true Dean Wilson he would be in the season in the sense of yelling, screaming at guys or whatever, okay? So it's the honeymoon. They dig me. They want to go to Fargo South, okay? Now, you look back historically, all of a sudden Duluth was a superpower. They had the Canadian Olympic coach, women's, coaching them. So now people want, and they network, they want to play from. Wisconsin, Olympic coach. Ohio State now, they dominate because they've got these opportunities. Or more kids going to want to be enticed to your place, Denver. Are they going to want to come to your school because you're hooked up with these programs that people go, I want to play for him.
But they call it the fit. I fit better with that particular person.
But is it subliminal recruiting?
Probably a little bit. I mean, but how do you get around it? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, those are the best coaches. Those are the people you want.
Yeah.
Brian Adulski, he's connected with the world with women's coaching.
Right.
If you wanted to see the world this week, you should have been over, and it's still going on, over at the Shields Arena, the U15 National USA Hockey Tournament's going on, which would be your academies and your non-high school states. And they brought in 32 teams, I believe, pool play, and now it's down, and their quarters were last night. I have not seen, since the Elite League, the number of people, i.e. college and agents and parent helpers in a building as there was at Shields Arena the last 6 days for the U15 USA Hockey National Championship.
Eddie,
Team representative, not agents.
You know what, Eddie? I have to
Call them what they are.
Say it right. Say it right.
Let's call them what they are. Here's what I would suggest. Here's what I'll call them what they are. When we came through hockey was fine. Then there was an era where parents had a clock watch. Now the parent is the player helper or the parent helper. They've got the clock watch. They're going to the locker room. They're cutting deals. Scotty Sandler is right on. He should not have to deal with a player agent holding him hostage on a player he's trying to develop.
Absolutely.
Call the
That's
spade.
Call
the spade out.
I do have to congratulate you, Eddie. This Ham's beer is ice cold and fantastic. But listen.
Hey, thanks, Beverage Wholesaler.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, speaking of congratulations, let's throw this out there for those kids that we were fortunate enough to have dinner with on last Wednesday night.
Oh, awesome.
And the most important thing I took away from that,
There
were
scholarship award.
no, there were two things. One was that those kids were just so intense. But I didn't realize you could go to law school at the University of North Dakota with a 1.65 grade point average.
Somebody hasn't really came clean on that, but someday they will. But I did his homework for him, so he did earn his degree. Online at CitywideElectricNorthDakota.com. Check out what the crew at Citywide Electric can do. Experience you can trust for design, repair, and installation of any home or business electrical project. Again, online, CitywideElectricND.com.
Where did you get that? That's hilarious.
Well, listen.
Right from Slapshot, but we could have used the hook, the slash, and the spear on Jeff at the event that so graciously was hosted by the Fieldstone Group on Wednesday night to honor those. And
I don't remember that.
I
gotta rewatch that.
We were 22 minutes late on an 8 o'clock stop because Jeff had a 25-minute speech.
Well, another fun fact is that's my other uncle. Doug Wilson was my other uncle.
That sounded like a family member, Wilson.
It was. I can't believe it. He was at the thing. Ça va bien, très bien.
Yeah.
Oui, ça va très bien.
All right, listen.
Pierre.
April 11th, the Final Four. Denver takes on Boston University. Michigan
The Big M.
takes on Boston College. Now,
What's everybody's predictions?
what you just heard about feeling shame sitting in the sin bin for 2 minutes, my question to you gentlemen is this. Watching the NCAA playoffs, the teams are so close in competitiveness that if a team takes a penalty, there's a power play goal. What significance is specialty teams going to play in the Final Four of the NCAA playoffs?
If the games are called like they have through the regionals, no impact because there were very, very, very few penalties called. So my question is, are they going to let it go like they have? I.e., this is interesting.
I hope so.
I'm going to suggest the biggest improvement, not watched a lot of women's college basketball, but it looks like it's the same and on par due to the officiating let Big Ten basketball, or not Big Ten, NCAA basketball. There's a lot of people laying on the floor.
You know what's interesting about women's basketball that I've noticed? The utilization of mouth guards. I mean, that tells you right off the bat.
And broken noses.
Yeah, in the paint and
They should wear a face mask now in basketball because it's getting to be as vicious.
Well, some of
as
them
hockey.
are. They broke their nose, but I was impressed with as I watched through the tournament, all the mouth guards that are being utilized. That tells you there's a lot of roughness in the paint, and you can see it.
So, Jeff, to your question, I don't think it's going to be an impact because I think they're going to swallow the whistle and let it be decided.
But if they do, you got to think that the Big M, with the number one power play in the country, that could be a factor.
But they're playing BC that also is
I know. That's
the
that's
most
the game I
shorthanded
want.
goals, I believe, in the country.
But remember, Michigan is on that ascent. BC's been kind of up there, and they've been treading water here a little bit. I think the Big M can take them.
I believe watching Western do what they did. I think Quinnipiac, BC. Yeah,
The
It'd be great games.
CCHA,
Great
the
games.
NCHC, not in the Final Four, which tells me the
NCHC.
No, NCHC's there. Denver's
Come
there.
on.
Oh, yeah, Denver. So you got
Holy
the
smokes.
CCHA
Show a little love here.
1.65
and the
grade point.
Atlantic Conference.
He's a lawyer.
Hey, our new producer, Addison Loge. We've been here. I screwed up, boys. I thought we were starting at 8 o'clock. Well, 8 o'clock a.m. like we always have. I said, hey, I'll meet you at the studio at 7:30. We'll put some stuff together. Well, he was here at 7:30. Good
Sleep.
job,
Hey,
Addison.
sleep.
But
Hey,
unfortunately,
the pillow's still
we were
on the
here an
couch.
hour and a half early.
The pillow's still on the couch. Put your pillow away so it doesn't make it look like you live here, would you, Addison?
I got a text at it was 9:30, 10-ish, and it was like, come to the studio tomorrow at 7:30. And I was like, that seems a little early, but we can do that.
At least you didn't get
Hey.
the 2 a.m. call. Could you bring me a pack of smokes?
Hey, but you know me. I got to name the new guy, right? Because you look
Yeah.
like somebody on Breaking Bad. And I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna call you Walter White, but I'm gonna call you Heisenberg. Heisenberg, glad to have you, buddy. You look like a person on. Yeah, Heisenberg. You guys don't watch Breaking Bad? Come on now.
Okay, enough of the love fest. Let's get back to. Let's talk about the Frozen Four here.
Yeah.
But before we
We're done
do,
with Caitlin Clark because
Let's
you
talk-
see the girl
Yeah.
that had to cover her last night. Mm-hmm. Wow,
She was a
you
star.
want to
She
put
did
skates on
defensive.
her?
by the way,
Wow.
doing Dean Wilson's homework, which is also paying attention to the women's college hockey scene, a pretty major pickup for Jimmy Scanlon. Well, who did Jimmy Scanlon at Bemidji State pick up in the portal this past week.
Caitlin Clark.
He picked up Josie Bothan, Penn State's goaltender, to come back to Bemidji State, a Minnesota product, coming back home to have a 5th year of goaltending. So, Scanny, nice job using the portal.
Okay, so I looked at the portal options yesterday. There's 134 players available that are in the portal.
A lot of coaches that weren't honest.
But here's my point. If you start looking at the different universities that are affected, there are some that have to completely redo their roster. And that's, I mean, you start thinking about that.
Listen to this one. Northern Michigan.
That's what I'm talking about.
13 left.
Right.
Now, what's going on?
Well,
When you talk about redoing the roster, Quinnipiac last year did.
Yep.
Reigning national champions. And North Dakota did.
And you know what? We can't be hypocrites. Like I said, UND get a 6'4", 216-pounder. This Caleb McDonald transfer from Alaska. Mm-hmm. We got a goalie from Arizona. I mean, like Brad Berry said, the good and the bad about being done, you can hit the pavement hard now, right? Are you focusing on next year already?
Well, Brad Berry, I'd asked him to be on our show today. And he said
probably
he was on the recruiting trail.
He's probably at Shields Arena, but
he will be joining us next week. 293-9000, 701-293-9000 if you want to give us your opinion, thoughts, and comments about college hockey.
And if you hit the pavement too hard, you're going to end up at the Center for Special Surgery for all of your orthopedic ear, nose, eye, throat, plastic. See the specialist at the Center for Special Surgery, where your care is our passion. So good segue there, Wills. Thanks. Just like it was scripted.
Hey, you know me. But, hey, another one on a positive note. Coach of the Year, Tom Sartori, CCHA. He's also finalist for the Spencer Penrose Award given to the AHCA, Division I Men's Hockey Coach of the Year. And that guy gets the job done. Mm-hmm. He's up in Bemidji, and I've seen a few of those games, and he brings some quality athletes in there. He's working hard. So, congratulations to Tom Sartori.
And I would have loved to have Tom on, but I was afraid of the words that he would use, seeing as his star defenseman Polkamp got poached. Yeah. Poached. Let's call it what it is. Got poached by Dave Carl at Denver, who is now a fan of the portal after speaking up against it until this transaction.
Well, but I think it's just it is what it is. I mean, if you're going to exist in this particular point in time, you're probably going to have to work with the portal. I mean, it's going to affect you.
And we'll remember this because it's reality. When you take a look, I believe I can explain 2 of the transfers out of Michigan Tech. Let's just talk to that one. Do you think for a second, if you had 2 goalies and you're losing your senior and you have Slusinski coming in, that's already got the LA Kings wanting to pull him up and get him some. So if you're those goalies, you're saying, we're out of here because we already know who's going to start in goal at Michigan Tech.
That's true. But, Tom Sartori, quote, the big get bigger and stronger. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think, me, I always use humor. I came home the other day and my wife goes, I'm going to enter the portal, honey. I'm going to somebody else. I go, what the heck? You push it through. Do you stick? There's the loyalty, I guess, the factor. Do you stick through it?
That's exactly what I've been saying all along. There's no loyalty.
I think I have a year of eligibility left. I might put myself in the portal.
Yeah, here's the issue about the portal. You take a look at teams that have 4 players graduating or moving on to the pros. Then you look at college hockey websites as to who the recruits coming in, and they got 4, maybe 5 recruits coming in. And all of a sudden you see the portal, and they got 6 guys coming through the portal. Mm-hmm. What the hell's going to happen to those 4 freshmen? Mm-hmm. That's the hiccup. I don't have an issue with the portal. That's to me the number 1 recruiting. But what do you do? But listen,
stay in junior hockey and come in as a 23-year-old.
But listen, we'll be back to the hockey guys right after this.
It's a mess.
Welcome back to the Hockey Guys. We have a fun interview here coming up that's called The Legend of Jay Caulfield. Listen, we had that music a little loud. I'll jump on the sword on that one. But everyone in their life has a opportunity facing them, whether it's a make or break event in their life. Tommy, we're thinking about you, buddy, with what you're going through. But Jay Caulfield played one game, one shift for the University of North Dakota, went on to play for the New York Rangers, Minnesota North Stars, Pittsburgh Penguins from 1987 to 1993, winning the Stanley Cup in 1992. And Jay's now doing broadcasting for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Just a little guy.
Yeah, just a little guy. What do you think of running through the line, Wilson, as a running back and running into a guy 6'4", 240, can run a 4'6",
I worked hockey school with him at UND, and we're in the locker room. He's got his shirt off, tightening his skates. His veins were bigger than my arm. And I go, Jay, scooch over. Get away from me. I mean, the guy had muscle on muscle, and we chit-chatted because his role changed in the pros. He was the enforcer.
He was the only guy that I can ever remember that went from football to hockey and continued to wear the cowboy collar on his shoulder pads while playing hockey.
Because of his
Because of his shoulder.
Yeah,
injury.
his broken neck.
Yeah,
His neck.
because he had that broken neck. And
Now,
I'm going,
again,
whoa.
we talked about Caitlin Clark, a generational type player. Could something like this, the Jay Caulfield story, could it happen again? Are there those type of players that are athletes, that are terrific, whether it's in track, whether it's in football, swimming, you name it, that can say, hey, I want to try this, and I'm going to go over. I mean, we've seen a lot of my sister had a scholarship in swimming, gymnastics, and track at the University of North Dakota. You knew my sister, Jody.
Exactly.
All right,
Yep.
so that does happen. But do you think that could happen again today?
I think for sure. And I'll throw out, I mean, I always got to be careful in this because we talk about kids. Everybody wants an athlete to go with the seasons, right? And sometimes, again, we're hypocrites because people above, and I'm going to bag on them a little bit with USA Hockey, JO Volleyball, ASU Basketball. They go, we want you to go with the seasons, but you got to go to our Spring Elite League if you want to come back next in the fall. And I'm going, you're handcuffing kids to make decisions.
No,
not only you're handcuffing, you're hurting them.
Follow the money.
But you're hurting, and that's true too. But you're hurting them too, development-wise and physiologically, because we have seen the increased incidence of overuse injuries, repetitive use injuries that will sideline careers because they're doing the same sport over and over and over for 9 months out of the year.
Well,
cross training is really the best, and cross involvement with different sports is best. You're in that development period where you will develop your muscle tone, your muscle fire, and your muscle reactivation accordingly by playing different sports. I'm a firm believer, and the science will prove that you should be a multi-sport athlete as you work through.
I agree.
We were when we were at North Dakota back in the 80s because, Jeff, we were on the cross-country team.
Dr. Phil, this is right up where your knowledge is. At UND, if Eddie and I started at the goal line and we raced to the other goal line, Eddie and I would be very damn close on who would win. Okay, but if we started at the blue line,
I always bet on myself, and Jeff bet with me.
If we started at the blue line and went 10 yards to the center ice line, Eddie would beat me.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we were doing preseason workouts, here I am, a 400, 800 type guy. Eddie, with his quick reflex muscles, is running the 50-yard dash faster than anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
The theory here is that I see is quickness is so important nowadays that
That's your power play.
That's your power play. And I'll get back to it. The players, very seldom are you going to go full ice for the puck and race for it, right? But it's at 10 yards. And that's where the training needs to be. From the goal post to the corner, get the puck now, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you train for that? Because I never did.
Well, we didn't have the resources like the kids have these days. I mean, let's face it, back when we played, it was go to the weight room, lift as much weight as you can, and then you'd go run, and that was it.
Couple raw eggs.
Yeah, there was
for a marathon.
Right. There was nothing scientific about it.
We didn't have a weight room in Warroad.
No, but I'm talking about
South.
UND.
You guys at Fargo South were a little ahead.
Yeah, we had a universal gym, whatever that.
But Phil, you're right. I mean, we did 10 40-yard sprints. You ran a couple miles. That made you faster in your 40, right?
Right.
And nowadays it's so broken down of how you train.
Well, and not only is it that part, but it's the nutrition part. It's all of these other things that.
No, I was looking out
in.
for nutrition. I bet Dean Blaze all 4 years a steak dinner on the run around University Park. I ate well. Dean Blaze bought me steak.
My whole point is that the muscles that we were given genetically, those muscles are designed to operate in different environments, a lot of different environments. And when you specialize and you just focus on one sport or one activity, they don't have that ability to broaden their ability, from a muscle standpoint. That's why multi-sport athletes and multi-sport things are much better than the isolated one I'm going to specify at age 14 that I'm just playing hockey or I'm just playing baseball.
You couldn't say it any better, Doc.
Yeah, I mean,
really
that's how it
could.
works.
And I'm going to add a piece to it. I had a couple guys that were on my penalty kill. They were in cross country. They had more hang time.
Yeah,
if they
exactly.
couldn't get out,
Yes, we did.
I had two guys that I'm going.
Yes, we did.
You know what I mean? They could go. And you talk about nutrition again. I mean, UND steroids was grinders and beer.
No,
right?
our nutrition was Wilkerson Hall.
Exactly. Whole milk.
That was too far to walk for Dusty. We ate right there at Beck.
Yeah, I'll go back to it, boys. Jumping on a bike and doing a marathon, jumping on a treadmill and doing a marathon, that's going to help in killing the power play, right? But what's so important, which is more important than that,
is the 10 yards.
10-yard, boom.
With your feet moving
and your
in order
brain
to
thinking.
be on the power play.
And Doc, how do the the parents of young players that are listening or will listen in the future was, how do they develop that 10-yard sprint?
They don't. Part of them don't. And what I see is that it is, and as Eddie's alluded to this, it has become all about the money. And when they see a young kid at 13, 14, 15 that's starting to burn it up a little bit, and you would see that this weekend if you go out there. All they're thinking about really is what? College scholarship.
Yeah. But I like
all they're thinking
and
about.
I can get any kid a college scholarship.
Absolutely.
Whether they do or don't play a game in college
Exactly.
is a whole other. And you know what the portal's identifying? We went through cycles, and I'd like to visit with the college coaches when they get excited in the portal. Wisconsin tried to model of going after 15-year-olds. It failed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the portal's going to fail.
Absolutely.
The question is, when will the coaches stop lying to each other because they lied to players and recruit them and tell them I'm going to, and then they don't, things change. So at some point, to keep the game honest, it'll come back. So
do you think the portal though and the NIL are so intertwined though?
They are. But
Yeah.
again, everybody has it. The challenge is that some schools have more money than others.
Okay,
and
that's exactly
so
where
it
it's
comes
going.
back. Follow the money. So,
Not everybody has it because
big
some
get
have more.
bigger.
That's right.
So on the ice or off the ice, clear vision is the result. For your permanent vision corrections, reach out to Bag & Stringland Vision. Expert eye surgeons, give them a call, 701-293-8242. Thank you for sponsoring the Hockey Guys.
And listen, Doc Phil, we're going to debate this if you can make a hockey player quicker. And we're going to do it in the next period. All right? So, got to stay tuned for an interesting debate with the Hockey Guys right after this. Welcome back. Dr. Phil, we had a little debate here. Let's start one. Can you make a player faster?
Yes.
Bottom
line is yes.
Okay, all right, you want to go 10 yards? Wills, you and I are on one team. We got Eddie and Dr. Phil on the other. If we want to make a player to go faster, you start them off at the blue line, you get your stopwatch out, you think you're timing them to center ice, right? So then mentally they got to go faster, beat the time. But listen, they got to move their feet quicker, shorter strides, and get on the top part of their blades, right? You can't be having your heels back, right? You got to move your feet quicker. You got to get in the front of your blades, and you got to go.
But also you've got to train your brain. You've got to train your muscles. And so that happens not only on ice, but it happens off ice as well.
Right.
So, yes, the answer to your question is yes.
You get on your toes, right? You're not going to run that 10 yards flat-footed.
But it's a multifactorial process that you got to work through.
I agree.
And that's what we're learning.
So the mind is subliminal. So I'm going to throw this at you. If you're paying attention to the show today, unintentionally done by Jeff, he actually put a song on that alluded to his two girlfriends for the last segment. So that's subliminal mental. But by the way, here's what's amazing. I will wrap it back up again just because, yes, I'm with you, Doc Phil. Yes, you and I can take any athlete and have them fire quicker. Hockey, I can get them faster in 10 yards because they have to understand the connection between kinesiology and kinesthetics. Look it up. I'm just a commoner, but I understand that.
Okay,
by the way, Caitlin Clark went from being in her left brain for the first half, and after the half, came out, took a couple shots, laughing, smiling, and she spent the second half with smiles on her face. She shifted her brain and won the game for Iowa.
Yeah, but she not only that, but that gal that was covering her was doing an unbelievable job.
But she shifted her brain and didn't let that gal get in her head. She got away from her.
No, I think you're probably right. She said, "Hey, I'm going to get through this," and they did.
There are so many times I get to the rink and I see these youth coaches, peewees, bantams, having the players run the stairs, thinking they're doing a workout after the practice. That's baloney. BS. Okay, that's BS.
That's making the coach feel better.
Oh, looking like to the fans or the parents that they're doing something.
No,
you're much better off getting the jump rope, having the players jump on their toes, and see how many times they can jump in 10 seconds, 30 seconds.
You're much better off not doing anything after the game. Let them recover, let them heal. That's an off-ice thing, and that's an off-training thing, and that's proven. I mean, that's not the question.
Put them in a small room, give them a ball, and tell them you're going to play until the last person standing. Everything will happen that you want to have happen.
It has to start when kids are mites, peewees. They have to develop that skill. The youth coaches have to be intentional in coaching that. Wills.
Well, there's many factors, and I think you can make somebody fundamentally sound. Doc, I'm going to throw it genetically endowed. I've had players, I look at their mother and father, they're both 4 feet tall. I go, that might not be a good gig when they get older down the road because genetically, I mean, you look at these gals in basketball, I'm going, a gal was 6'7". I'm assuming her mom and dad were probably same type of height or maybe former athletes themselves. But, and then to be wired mentally tough.
Or medicated up.
Well, maybe. But, and just you got to be wired everything. I've seen guys that were wired differently. They were driven. Mm-hmm. And you got to know your own child.
Yep.
I had 4 daughters that were all different. One of my best, and I'll pick her to Nevada, but she'd hit you and help you up. She wasn't as feisty as the other 3 daughters were, just mentally, physically wired a little different way.
Absolutely. And you've got to take all of those particular variables into account because you've got to want to do it, first of all, to go through an intense workout to allow you to do it. So you've got to have the want.
No doubt.
And then you've got to have some of the natural ability. So you've got to have the genetics a little bit.
You do.
I mean, you've got to have some ability to impress upon that. We're building muscle, we're building quickness. Some have it, some don't. I mean, that's just kind of how the ball goes.
It all goes back to whether you want to be average, you want to be better, or do you want to be Stanley Cup bound?
Yeah.
I mean, and then you got to go out and do it, right?
There's always room at the top, and you want to get those kids that always want to keep achieving.
And it's so lonely up there, isn't it, Will?
It is, but, it's harder to stay up there.
Yes.
And, Not for a goat. Goats always know how to get to the top
of the mountain.
Yeah. And
But you
you're
can get there. And I think that the overall answer to your question, Jeff, is yes, it can be done. But there's a lot of things that enter into that, and just isolating and specializing at a young age does not get you there. I'm going to put that out there right now,
And I
because
agree.
we've proven that. And
100%.
it actually hurts your chances, because you develop this repetitive overuse injury process, and so you've actually taken that kid out of the ability to do that. So parents out there, get your kids involved in a lot of different sports. It's better for them in general.
And I agree. And,
absolutely.
the $1 million question I used to get from athletes all the time, teach me the trick. What's the secret to being good? What's the trick? I go, I'll tell you the trick. It's working hard.
And you want it.
You gotta want it. You gotta have a passion. Once you lose your passion in your heart to play that game or activity, you're sunken. You're done.
Yep.
And you got to do it for you. And I've lived it. I had a daughter quit, and I've had other parents there. They come up to me and go, "What'd you do?" And I go, "You know what? It wasn't up to me." And that was a hard pill to swallow. They go, "Dad, I don't love the game like you do."
And then you shouldn't play it.
And you know what? And I had a daughter quit on me, and I said, "Well, you got to finish the season. Talk to the coaches." She finally had a smile on her face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Wills? You said everyone has to have the will. You know what? I think all these young players, even these college players, all have the desire, right?
Don't take away the dream from them. Don't take away the dream from them.
The question is, do they have the want and the will to go out and do it? That's the difference. That's the difference. Everyone's got the desire, but does everyone have the will to go get it
I got to
done?
be a little different here because I do this for a living, but you have the D. We call it determination, desire, doggedness, right? That what most people don't understand, very few people have the big D. What's the big D? I'll quiz you guys. What's the big D? Because you've never talked about it.
Well, show's going to get done here pretty soon, Ed. You better tell us.
Discipline. If you're disciplined
and
in
desire.
yourself,
Yep.
but desire without discipline doesn't matter. But I'll share with you, determination without discipline doesn't matter. Doggedness without discipline doesn't matter. You know, I can tell you to run through a
that's a good
wall,
point.
and if you're not disciplined enough to go find out where the studs are, but you can win a lot of money running through a half-inch sheetrock wall.
Yeah.
But I'm just showing you, the only thing that determines the difference between success and failure is, are you disciplined enough as a person to make sure that you are willing to do what it takes to make
that's
it
a
to the
good
top
point.
level.
Very good
I
point.
like that, Eddie.
Yeah.
And I'll go back before we end the show here, boys. As Jay Caulfield said, there comes a time in everybody's life where there's going to be a make or break day, and you're going to have to seize that opportunity. Tom, we know you're listening again, brother, and we love you, and stay strong. 30 seconds.
Hey, best multi-athlete, they say, Bo Jackson. He went with the season with a couple sports.
Yeah. Didn't Michael Jordan play baseball?
Michael Jordan played baseball.
I love the fact that the big
Reggie Jackson.
I like the fact that
options.
the big guy playing in the Final Four basketball tournament, I think his name is Eddie, but I think he was a hockey player before he got to basketball.
We'll see
from
you next
Canada.
week on the Hockey Guys.
Got to be good.